further ado, I will turn the program over to our first speaker, Brian Comnes.
Am I on the mic yet? Sound check now. Okay, thank you. Well, thank you all for coming, every one of you. I've been trying to get to this AFP audience for quite a while. It's my belief there's a serious amount of support for our initiative in the conservative community, and I hope I'll be able to convince those on the fence to vote yes come in May. Elise Higley, actually I'm here to represent GMO-free Jackson County, but mostly our Family Farms Coalition, the other group of farmers who support this. Elise Higley, the director, is driving down I-5 in Los Angeles. There was a mix-up on her plane. She has to be there for the weekend. Elise would probably be the primary speaker, but we didn't want to miss this opportunity. Tom will tell you that we almost, we tried in December, it didn't work. We tried in January, so rather than miss this again, we decided to come and make it happen. So I'm not a pinch hitter. I'm in the lineup, shall we say? But anyway, so I'm here representing both GMO-free Jackson County and our Family Farms Coalition. Okay, I want to start off with a short audio clip from a farmer here named Jared Water, who spoke at the county commissioners yesterday. I'm not sure if you've watched RVTV, but I'm going to do it's hard to get the video clip. I do have an audio clip. I'd like to start with that. So let me go to the next slide, and it's let me see if I can push the button here, and if it comes out, we'll be lucky. My challenge before the night was getting the sound to work, and it always helps me put the cable into the right spot. Oops. Hang on. Where's the turn off for this? Can we turn it down temporarily so I can lean forward? And because my sound's going to come through that speaker, and I want re-feedback. Thank you. All right.
My name's Jared Waters. I'm a longtime resident of Jackson County, and I'm a native Oregonian. My family's been for over 80 years in the state. I'm the operations manager for one of the largest conventional farming operations in the valley. We are not organic. We are nearly 2,400 acres. We are all conservative Republicans and part of the Jackson County Republican Party that helped elect people you gentlemen to office. We do not want out of state but out of country corporations controlling the way we farm here in the valley. Last year, my farm took a $250,000 hit when the wheat export ban hit last summer. We could not export our crop. By the time that the ban was lifted, we could no longer combine our crops and ship them to Portland because the little rain that we have received this year came. When wheat's wet, you can't combine it. I had to plow it under, and I lost a lot of money. We know Measure 15-119 will have no economic impact on this valley, on the county, and its taxpayers. We support Measure 15-119, and we are appalled by the Commission's lack of research on the subject. Thank you for your time.
Okay, you can turn it back up. So anyway, that's a local farmer. And you need my sound up? And here we go again. And I say, I'm not so much here to talk about genetic engineering as I'm about the impact of genetic engineering agriculture and its possible impacts on our county and why we think supporting local family farms is the way to go. So I'm going to talk about what's the threat to our farmers, what does a family farms measure do, who supports it, and why local citizens should support the family measure as well. Okay, just a quick crash course to make sure we understand what we're talking about here. Genetic engineering is a modern technique to induce transgenic DNA material across species lines. The top line's a tangerine and a pomelo, and you get a tangelo, that's hybridization. You take genes from a fish, a biorad gene gun is what it looks like Buck Rogers, but they inject that in and they grow tomatoes that have certain attributes or traits that they're after. Now, the issue though is it comes out as patented intellectual property disguised as food. That food and the seeds that come with it belong to a private entity, okay? There's some implications of that later on, but that's just a quickie crash course. Is this off? No. Oops, wrong way. So, what are some of the threats of genetically engineered crops in the county? Contamination of traditional farm crops, all right? Economic risks to the local economy. Jared Waters lost $250,000. Patent lawsuits against farmers. Now you can go to the threat is there. Monsanto may say, well, in 20 years we've only had 145 lawsuits. That's not many. What they don't tell you, there's thousands, over 5,000 documented settlements that are non-disclosure, i.e. they come and they basically bully the farmer into complying, and they sign a non-disclosure agreement and they keep it secret. And despite what you may hear, okay, it does involve increased use of herbicides. There's a lot of controversy of that. You'll probably hear that's not the case. I think if you do a little bit of research on the internet, look up Dr. Ben Brooks' study from Washington State University. Again, there's pretty good evidence that a chemical company who's in the business of selling chemicals is likely to come up with a product that uses more chemicals. All right, let's talk about Jackson County. Okay, who here knows about the Ashland peach? Okay, Jackson County has been a world famous source of agriculture for over 120 years. All right, Max Pracht in Ashland, south of the fire department there, that was a peach orchard. Through pruning and techniques, he was able to grow, now check this out, a peach at 26 ounces and a 16-inch circumference. That's the size of a cantaloupe, folks. That's a hell of a peach. Anyway, he took Best of Show at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, which kind of put America on the map economically. Harry and David, nearly 100 years ago, the Royal Riviera pear and their whole product line. All right, a lot of people don't know this. In the 1950s, Talent, right up that way, I think, let's see, it's that way, okay. Talent had the best alfalfa on the planet. Rogue River branded Talent alfalfa, high yield. Now it's been supplanted by modern hybrids, but for a long time, this valley produced the best alfalfa seed in the United States. So we have a long history of producing high quality agricultural products. Okay, are non-GMO products that are not organic an important consumer market? You betcha. Cheerios, non-GMO. General Mills, they're no pikers when it comes to marketing. They know, they came out, now they didn't do much to it to make it non-GMO. There's no such thing as GMO oats, all right, but they realize there's a huge market in their customer base for people who do not want genetically modified ingredients in their food. All the other products on that page are all not organic, but non-GMO. There's a large market for this. Our farmers who want to sell to that can and should be able to, without the threat of losing their ability to sell. Okay. Genetically engineered seeds and pollens, do get out. They cause problems. Bayer had to pay a lot of money. Please don't read this whole slide. This is just some news clips documenting the fact that when a genetically engineered rice got out in the wild, it cost Bayer a lot of money to settle up. Here in Oregon, what Jared referred to, 30 genetically engineered plants, wheat plants, were found in the field. Farmer prepped his field, sprayed it. 30 of those plants didn't die. He went and, what's going on here? And they were identified as Monsanto strain, genetically engineered wheat. It was supposed to have been removed from the market 10 years ago while it was under permit and destroyed. It obviously wasn't. It got out somehow. They don't know how. They never determined it. But what happened? Okay, 90% of our Oregon's wheat crop goes to Japan and South Korea. Well, it's actually exported. Maybe it's not that high a percentage. But the fact of the matter is those contracts were canceled, all right? Because those countries, sovereign countries with a right to determine their food, all right, said, we don't want this stuff. Someone like Jared got caught in the crossfire. Again, customers out there demand products that don't have it, all right? So what's the issue here? And do I have a laser pointer, Tom? Do we have one that works? Is it this one?
That black one should.
This one?
Yeah, it should.
Okay, and the pointer, do I just push like that? Where do I push? Here? No, there. Oh, okay, all right. Here's a map. All right? It's a little hard to see. I'm going to outline it for you. There's Ashland, there's Talent, there's Phoenix, there's Medford. The gray area along here is the Bear Creek watershed, okay? Peak to peak. This is our major valley here, okay? That's what that is. The green dots represent farmers who grow biologic methods. Some are organic, some are not, but they're non-GMO farms, all right? Okay, when you understand that the USDA safe separation distance for sugar beet seed production is considered to be 4 miles. Now, it's been deregulated. They don't care where you grow it now, but when they get a permit, it's supposed to be kept 4 miles apart as a safe separation distance. So around each green dot, you'll see a 4-mile radius circle. Got that? So what do you notice? It doesn't take many farms to start stepping on each other for genetic cross-pollination issues. The red dots represent known or suspected sugar beet seed plots, most of them done by a foreign corporation who plants very close to biologic neighbors. We get more support for our initiative from this map than any single item. Now, okay, gee, Brian, it's legal, it's deregulated, what's the big deal? We have to realize we did this map in March of 2012. Sugar beet seeds were not deregulated until July of 2012. That means that these plots were grown in violation of issued permits, all right, and that's not what I call a particularly good neighbor. So that's the map. That's and alfalfa, USD alfalfa safe separation distances were just recently released. 3 miles of honeybees are used in the pollination process for seed production. Again, like the old Western movie, this town may not be big enough for the both of us. So, all right. Now, Ron's here. This is a quote from Ron Bjork, our opposition. This is a letter to the editor, Mail Tribune. Is there a risk of genetically modified alfalfa cross-pollinating with conventional alfalfa? Absolutely. Okay, even our opposition agrees it's a risk. Now, Ron's got a different solution. He's entitled to his opinion, but that's a statement we got from the paper. Okay, it is a problem and can be a problem. The question is what to do about it. Who bears the cost of genetically engineered crops in Jackson County? I'm going to run another video clip of Steve Fry. Steve Fry is from Fry Family Farms. He's going to talk about the impact on his farm and his experience with some of the, quote, good neighbors here. So let's see if I can get it going again. On. Okay, let's give it a, if I do this, that might help. Let's see.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Steve Fry. I'm a Talent resident, and I am an organic grower here in the Valley. Fry Family Farm is the name of our company. We've been in this valley 20-some years. And being an organic grower, this GMO thing totally affects me. So I do have some emotional attachment to the equation, although the scientific part of the equation is really what I'm here to speak about. I am one of the growers that have lost crops, just for the record. It'd be really great if we could have some kind of estimate on how much money we've lost on this stuff. And Mr. Jordan, I don't want to talk evil about you. You're a good man and all that. You do Edward County. The problem, I have lost crops. The economic impact on my farm and my business has been substantial. We lose thousands of dollars a year because the GMO seed crops are grown. I have 3 different farms in this valley. I have GMO crops grown around all my properties. I joined the seed association to try to get some clarity on where the GMOs are and how many GMOs could be in this valley. Syngenta is the main player here. I know many other, there's only like 3 crops that are being grown in this valley, field corn, alfalfa, and the GMOs, sugar beets. Those are the 3 GMOs we're talking about. For me to grow the beta family seeds, I can't legitimately do it because Syngenta walked out of our seed growers meeting. We tried to coexist. That model has been tried. At the meeting, they got up and told us, we can't do this. They walked out of the meeting, for the record. They left the coexistence model. And I just want you all to know that we have worked with these people, and me being in this valley for as long as I have known where they're at, because they come to me and say, would you get rid of those chard plants? They're contaminating my beets. I'm still pulling leaves off my chard. I can't do that. I sell the stuff. So we've been going through this for some time. So the coexistence model, I want to work with farmers, our neighbors. These people are from another country. The guy that's growing the plants, I can work with him. Although this last encounter I had with him, I said, I'm growing seed this year. He said, okay, fine. Right out here at Extension, we're not going to plant it. I've worked with you a long time. You're a good guy. We've done this. He wants to show some rate coexisting, as neighbors do. I'm driving out there in Hanley. There they are, planting sugar beet plants. After he told me they weren't going to, I questioned Jesse Bimbo. What's going on? What are you guys doing? They told me we had to plant. Coexistence does not exist in this valley, and that's, an economic hardship on the seed growers. I just wanted to put that in the record. Thank you, guys.
Okay, well, that's a pretty compelling story. That was yesterday's county commissioners meeting, by the way. That's a picture of the rest of Fry Family Farms. Who else might have issues with it? Chuck Burr is in the room. You can talk to him. Had to destroy $5,000 of chard seeds because he was too close to actually the other side planted too close to him. Abbey Lane Farms, 22 years an organic farmer, used to save his own chard and beet seeds and grow them and sell them in the market. Chilling effect of GMOs is he no longer wants to take the risk, so he's stopped growing it. He's now forced to buy seeds from outside the area. He spends 20 years developing a seed line that does well in our local geography, and he has to give it up. Chris Hardy, the other co-petitioner, he had a Fedco seed contract. They canceled it given his relationships with and closeness to the competition. Who else? Maybe you. Any gardeners here who save their seeds? More than a few? Okay. Would you like to have them not be intellectual corporate property? Maybe you want to consider not having them parked in the valley so close to you. Jackson County could be a haven for that. All right. Now, I'm not going to dwell too on this, but it's Forbes, even ran the article. Genetically engineered crops do increase herbicide use, okay? And some of this stuff's kind of tricky. Well, we don't have to spray BT on the cornfield anymore because it's in the plant. Well, the net BT impact on the field is pretty high because they grow the BT in the corn. But yeah, they spray less. They just grow it right inside the plant. Increased weeds also lead to, increased herbicide use leads to super weeds. I got a letter in the editor a couple weeks ago. In fact, this was on Delta Ag Press. The Idaho potato growers, the University of Tennessee came out, their weed scientist said, hey, 10 years ago, we never considered people were going to have to go out and hand pull super weeds out of the ground. Italian ryegrass in Mississippi, this idea that herbicides are no-till. Well, guess what? When super weeds show up, how do you get rid of them? Well, you put more glyphosate than you used to, and probably dicamba and 2,4-D, and you have to plow it in so the weeds don't grow back in the spring. So there's a lot of problems emerging from this, and it's not as simple as, well, it just uses less. Okay, and increasing herbicide use increases risk to our drinking water and kids. Go to Google and just Google American Academy of Pediatrics pesticide. You can read the whole thing. They say here that children encounter pesticides every day and are uniquely vulnerable to their toxicity. And they make recommendations on how to reduce exposure. All right, and yes, organic people spray too, but they don't spray the stuff that that these people are talking about. So think about your kids and your water. Jackson Genetically engineered crops expose farmers through patent infringement, litigation, and threats. I talked about that a little earlier, okay? It's not a passive deal. Most people don't know when you sign a GMO contract. In fact, you can go to Helen the Seeds here and ask him, how do you get, I'm going to buy a bag of GMO corn. He says, well, you got to register with Monsanto as a Monsanto grower. And then they'll send you a contract you have to sign. And you'll get a bag of seed that says, hey, if you open this bag, you consent to all the items in your technical use agreement. Now, I ain't on the bag, all right? That might be something that was in the paperwork you got. But I suggest y'all do faircontracts.org and look at a typical GMO contract. Or go to the University of Arkansas. They have a guideline for farmers in GMOs. When you sign a GMO contract, and again, there are slight differences. I'm not saying they're all this way, but you give Monsanto non-expiring rights. That means lifetime rights to enter your property, examine your books, including your federal and state tax records. You yield that power to them. If you don't like your experience with the seeds, you're under a contractual agreement not to talk about it. You're basically they zip your lips so you can't talk in public under threat of non-disclosure agreements. You don't like it? Then you have to go to Missouri to sue. All right. Anyway, these things put people under risk, and if they don't do all the stuff they're supposed to do, guess who's knocking on the door? So let's talk about the measure itself. Okay. Tierra County Commissioners talk. Man, this is hard stuff. You know, it's 8 pages long. Oh God, what are we going to do? Big words too. Look, here's a prohibition, and it says it's a county ordinance, county violation for any person to propagate, cultivate, raise, or grow genetically engineered crops within Jackson County. All right. And there's some definitions in there which were pretty clear, in spite of some of the opponents' willingness to try and confuse the issue. So, and by the way, if you want to read, I didn't bring copies of it. You can go to our website, ourfamilyfarmscoalition.org. A copy is there. You can log into Jackson County's website. They have it there. It's out there. Most of it has to do with defining the administrative procedures and abatement procedures used in case there is a violation. And guess what, folks? It's copied on existing 21-year-old Jackson County law. There's a pear ordinance here 21 years ago to protect farmers, pear farmers, from damages of abandoned pear orchards. So, you know, most of the language in there is right from that. In fact, even Danny Jordan said, yes, Mr. Combs did cut and paste that language. But then he goes on to, well, I don't want to get into Danny Jordan. So it's simple. It does use existing county enforcement for agricultural protection. There's no new bureaucracy mandated in the law. It says it uses current staff and procedures. Persons who violate the law must pay the cost of abatement. All right, it's like all laws, the county enforcement has discretion. There's no requirement to use public funds. If the county's up a creek, they can choose to the level of enforcement they want. There's no mandate that they have to enforce this law. Now, we'd like them to, obviously. But, and citizens are also able to enforce it if the county won't act. But it's existing county law, and it's got definitions that work and have been tried for years. Okay, so what else does it got? It has an exemption for medical and scientific research. Okay, if OSU wants to do a genetic engineering experience and they put it into a, the USDA has standard levels for biocontainment. If they can put stuff out there and not have the pollen move, it's okay. If a biotech company wants to come and make bioengineered pharmaceuticals, that's okay. We're not trying to take away jobs in this county. We're trying to protect our local family farms. All right. It also has a 12-month grace period. Okay. So if you got something in the ground this year, and the law passes, you got a year to plant it, or to harvest it, sell it, and move on to something else. It's not punitive. Okay. Now, who supports it? Okay. Well, I have a prop. Okay, a lot of people support this. All right, I'm going to put this up in the back of the room. You can see it afterwards. We have over 150 local farms who support this, okay? We have 300 businesses and restaurants and organizations here who support this. Our support list is long and it's deep, all right, and it's local, okay? We don't have, if you look at the opposition website, you'll notice that a lot of their supporters seem to come from other states, okay? 5 local Granges, 100 restaurants and local businesses. Okay, who saw Eric Weisinger's article a few weeks ago on about what we call culinary tourism? Right, he's promoting the idea that Jackson County is a special place. People come here to drink well, eat well, have a good time. They do not come here to look at brown glyphosate sprayed GMO sugar beet plots, okay? This is where the money is. That's why the Newman Hotel Group down the street, Lark's, at the Inn at the Commons, largest hotelier in the valley, they're a sign supporter. Why? Because a healthy GMO-free economy is where the money's at for most of these people. On the other side, Syngenta, I think ag land here runs about $500 a year per acre, okay? If they got 50 plots, what's that, $25,000 into our local economy? Those seeds don't stay here. They're trucked out of here and grown somewhere else. Now, to Syngenta, they're worth a lot of money, but it doesn't do you as a citizen here much good at all. So, Michael, can you come take this and put it in the back?
Brian, you weren't supposed to advocate that this meeting was supposed to be educational, so we can't put that up.
We can't put it up? Okay, well, I'll just, I'll walk around like a sandwich board, The end is near. Okay? Well, okay. I'm getting near the end, folks. Okay, so what's it worth? Okay, what happened when Marin County passed a ban? Let's look at some numbers here. Okay, in 2004, Marin County in California passed a ban. $55 million was their actual total ag production. 2012, 8 years later, okay, it had grown by, the index was 146. It grew by almost half. Okay? Now, Marin County is unique and they break out organic. So there's no way, I look like all over the internet trying to find GMO versus non-GMO. It doesn't exist. But there's a breakout for organic in Marin County. They were $4 million in 2004. 8 years later, they were $28 million, a 700% increase. Okay? Number of organic farmers more than double. It's like that Field of Dreams movie with Kevin Costner. Build it and they will come because they do not have to bear the cost of coexistence. So let's look on a chart. What does that look like? Blue line is total ag economy, green line is organic farmers, and the red line is the value of organic production. 95% of the growth, of the 50% growth in Marin County came from an introduction of organic agriculture there. That's where the money is. Let's look at Santa Cruz County. This was not such a unique thing. Santa Cruz County has $560 million agriculture, okay, 7 times bigger than Jackson County's, all right? They had a ban in 2006. In 2012, their economy has grown by 40%. Now, there's no breakout, I had Marin, but the fact of the matter is, you pass a ban and the ag economy doesn't fall apart, okay, that's our point. It can grow quite substantially with a ban, so keep that in mind. So, and as I'm getting near the end, other concerns of genetic engineering, we can talk about in the Q&A period. Most of these I've touched upon. And I got a slide here that, okay, so what's your vision of Marin County, Jackson County's future? And that is, do you care about our air and water? Well, what about our cropland? That's a picture of short-term glyphosate use and 10 years later what it looks like. And what about our forests? Okay, anybody who's ever seen a GMO forest? Okay, you want to go hiking in that? Okay, well, a lot of Jackson County's trees, conifer pines, the Siskiyou Cascade Monument. There's a lot of controversy about that. Like it or not, is one of the most biodiverse regions on the planet. Okay, and there's private plots up there, and there's people, they like to put in trees and cut them down. The problem is conifers have a 100-mile pollen range. Okay. And you start introducing these traits into our natural forests here, and maybe you want to go hiking in the future, maybe you don't. So what's your vision for the future of Jackson County? So now I guess I can't run this slide, Mary, but anyway, vote yes, I guess is the short answer. So I'm going to end I'm going to end my presentation here and take questions, and I think I'm in my time limit, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to drink water too. No questions? You're all going to vote yes? Great. I'm done. Huh? Over here. Yes, you.
Yeah, there was in the opposing side, there was a criticism of the law saying that there's an emergency measure in there and trying to make it seem like that was a dangerous provision. Can you explain what that is?
Well, are we talking about Senate Bill 863 or the local ordinance?
And I copied it out and it's,
Well, help me with emergency?
in the event of an emergency, the county can go in and pull up the crops.
I'm not aware of that language. I'd like to see it. I know the pear ordinance. You read section 630. Oh, the pear orchard? Well, the sections, okay, existing law is section 630. In there, that requires the extension to come in and declare a crop emergency, and then that's the, I guess, the trigger for moving forward. I hope it does. My understanding, a lot doesn't have it in there. I'm not going to say, I don't remember the word emergency in there, so I'm not aware of any emergency provisions where the county can act and accelerate the standard procedures. One of the things we added to our initiative that the pear orchard didn't have, we vetted this thing. I think Craig Froning said Brian wrote this law. Brian didn't write this law. We had a team of people doing it. Got vetted by 3 attorneys. We had a civil attorney, we had a land use attorney, and we had a food safety attorney go over it. One of the things we stuck in there, before the county can come on your property, they have to get a search warrant. Okay, they just can't walk on your property and say, "Hey, give it up." They have to have a reasonable cause, some reasonable basis to do it. So yeah, about emergency, I'm not aware of that. I'm sorry. Over here.
Yeah, maybe possibly a similar question. If this ordinance is passed as an initiative, what's the possibility that the supervisors, since it's kind of complicated, it's technical, would the supervisors be able to make improvements in it on their own at some future time, or would it have to go back to the initiative?
It's a county ordinance like any other one. Joel's he's probably your subject matter expert there. I'm not an attorney, all right, but like any county ordinance, if the commissioners choose or don't, the fact it's a citizens initiative, once it's passed, and it goes into Jackson County Code, it's not unique in that regard. Wendell over here.
Would you say that the proliferation of the pollen from GMO plants that contaminates the plants in non-GMO plots, would you consider that to be a bit of a violation of property rights?
What I consider to be a violation of property rights. I would consider, planting them after the law is passed would be a violation of the ordinance.
Right.
Okay? That was the question. Do I consider it trespass or violation of property rights just by doing it over? Everybody's got their own opinion about that. Is it trespasses? Whatever. There's a lot of law around that. I want to stick to the answer that.
But just the kind of the layman's term, if somebody's GMO pollen comes on my land and now I can't grow my non-GMO seed crop because of that.
Well, patent law trumps property rights. That was a Supreme Court thing a while back. Your recourse for that is limited, right? That's one reason we want a law here to do something about it, because if you're left with a trespass claim and you go up to the Supreme Court, they said, patent rights trump property rights. Over here, and we get some.
Yeah, in that report that Danny Jordan did, it talked about replacing the topsoil. I find that strange.
Well, okay. I didn't write his report. He put in some things that could possibly raise the cost of enforcing this law. Now, keep in mind, Danny said over half a dozen times, this could cost nothing. He said it's a matter of policy for the board to enforce this or not. It ain't his call. Now, the issue on removing topsoil. Topsoil removal is something you do for toxic waste dumps. GMO plants are not toxic in and of themselves. They're not like it's not like Love Canal on a Syngenta plot. Okay, they don't need So our position is that suggestion that level of removal will be required was just a big mistake. I'm not going to get into motives or anything like that. It's in error, as a requirement. And and in fact, we have a position paper that his whole paper had quite a number of errors in it that probably, although he may mention them, should not have factored in his cost estimates, because well, so the short answer is, check, Ray Seidler's here, he's a former EPA scientist, he can talk about that with EF in the meeting. But topsoil removal is 6 inches down with a bulldozer, all right, to get out. I mean, is that how you weed your garden? Probably not. Okay, so, all right. Okay, way in the back.
In your opinion, if the ordinance should pass and then someone were to sue the county for their right to grow a GMO crop, who would bear the burden of defense of that ordinance?
If we got sued by our good neighbors?
If the ordinance were to pass and the county were to be sued by someone who said they wanted to grow a GMO crop, who would bear the burden of defense of this ordinance?
Well, that's up to the county commissioners. Okay, look, it's not every county defends its own laws. Now, there's a political landmine you may want to get into. All right. Well, there are other amicus curiae people who probably would want to support it. That's up to I'm not going to speak for the county commissioners. Would they choose to go to court? That's their call. Okay, if and only if they choose to do that, yeah, there might be county council involved. But it's not, let's don't speculate on the future, all right, because they can choose not to if they so desire. In fact, I want some of the, well, anyway, I'll stop there. Okay, way back there.
Isn't it true that most of the growing of the genetically engineered crops in this valley is actually done by Syngenta, not that much by farmers locally?
Well, okay, there's another mystery question, folks. We consistently ask, where are the GMO growers? Okay, we know Syngenta's here, and their business model is not. They lease land and grow their crops on your land, but your farming involvement might be cashing a check from the Syngenta Corporation. Okay, there is genetically engineered alfalfa in this county. How much? No one stepped forward and offered that number. Is it a few? Is it a lot? Okay, maybe when maybe in the I'll get over there in a second. But how am I doing time-wise, by the way?
Yeah, about 5 more minutes.
Okay, but I mean, those numbers. Our opinion is the actual number of GMO growers here is low. Okay, the impact on numbers of people might be very small, but we don't know that answer, and we've tried hard to find it and assessing. Back there.
So I'm a bit curious about the.
Oh, he's first. Okay, one back. You go next. The guy behind the head did have his hand up first.
Okay, I guess I just had a comment to that question, and then a question for you. One, I don't know how many farmers would want to come out and say they grow this in light of destruction of crops and private property that's been.
Do you know who did that?
Been done in the past.
Do you know who did the destruction?
No, no.
Okay, well then we don't either.
Well, and I'm just saying that could be a reason why someone doesn't come forth and say that, but that's just a thought I was thinking.
Well, I mean,
I would like to ask, why would you propose a law, but not propose to enforce it?
I'm not proposing that. We passed a law. It's up to the county commissioners. And here's the deal. I'm sorry?
Is it your name on the ordinance?
Well, no, my name is not on the ordinance. I'm on the petition. I'm listed as a chief petitioner. I got 67.
So you support it, but why wouldn't you support enforcement?
Look, I would like to see it enforced, okay? But that's not my call, all right? And the opposition is saying we have to spend all this money. If this county can't, it's like the pear, okay, Danny Jordan said in his report, there's an abatement procedure for pears. It's not funded. The county's chosen not to fund the abatement. Now, that's a political decision they made. And I'll tell you, I think abandoned pear orchards here are probably a smaller problem than genetically engineered crops. But that's a policy issue for this county commission. The law itself that you're voting on does not require them to do it if they choose not to. And I'm not going to put Joe on the spot, but it might be a question for the county commissioners. If this law passes, will you enforce it? Or will you use good judgment and reasonableness based on the county's ability to do these things? It's not, again, the point is the law does not require it. It could happen, all right, but it's up to the county. They've chosen not to abate on pear orchards or even enforce that. That's their choice, but it's up to them. Our law does not mandate enforcement.
Question. The food section of the throwaway shopping paper a couple weeks ago had a front page article, and it said if the food item is marked organic, then you can definitely be sure it's not GMO. Is that true?
Okay, y'all hear that question?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll repeat it. I mean, the ones in the back I think you can hear, but he said, okay, if it's marked, okay, this question had to do with food labeling. If it's labeled organic, can you be sure it's non-GMO? Most of the time I'd say yes. There's some controversy over small bits of genetically engineered product like xanthan gum and things like that. So, you know, you're okay. Engineers and mathematicians, if you can only go halfway across the room at a time, the engineers say, well, the mathematicians say we'll never get there, okay? And the engineers will be close enough, who cares? All right? and you know, that's a matter of your person. The non-GMO project I mentioned, I think they have to make sure the top 5 ingredients on their list are certified non-GMO. Do the other things sneak in there? I can't guarantee, you know, nothing's a guarantee in this world. In fact, there's even some standards where, at the production level, where they collect grains, not grow them, but where they collect them in a big distribution center, they process them. There are some allowable percentages in there where you can still call it organic, but not a lot.
But it's generally, it's true that it's non-GMO if it's labeled organic at this time.
That's a common statement. If you want GMOs, buy organic.
Library will be closing in 30 minutes.
We still have.
Well, you're up a creek. But in general, that's the case. But you know, again, is it 100%? You know, nothing's 100% in this world. Okay. Well, I have some questions over here.
In one of your slides, you had it where the citizens could enforce it.
Yes.
I want to know how you expect that.
Well, you file a court case. Okay, it says this: citizens and the county are authorized to enforce this ordinance in what they call a court of common, or a court of, competent jurisdiction. Now, so that's, you know, citizens are able to bring private actions against what they think an offender are. Now, that's the law. I mean, you can do it, all right? Over here, this guy here, I skipped over him.
So I have a question about the Santa Cruz County example that you used in your presentation. When I was looking at the graph, it seemed that it was plateauing, and there seemed to be a linear trend going along that graph. So was the movement to non-GMO a sort of an industrial revolution type, where because of that event it caused growth to spike and increase even more? Or is it just a linear trend, and that depression during the 2000s period is just reciprocal economics and trading issues?
I got these numbers from the Santa Cruz County Agricultural Report. Okay, it's straight up numbers. I don't think there's any like regression statistics trying to do correlation techniques or things like that. Was it flat last year because they had a bad year? I don't know. The fact of the matter is there is an upward trend. I think it's pretty apparent. And my point is that even though they crossed, the world didn't end agriculturally in Santa Cruz County, and there's a $500 million economy. Over here, well, so Chuck, you're inside. I'm going to get some other people who haven't. I'm out of time?
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'll give it to Chuck since he got his hand up.
What's the actual cost of enforcement been in the counties that have done this in the past?
Well, here's the deal. They don't publish the number, all right? We think it would have been pretty easy. We got on the phone. We called up Mary Lou Nicoletti, Santa Cruz County Ag Commissioner. Do you have an enforcement cost? No. We called up Stephan Parnay, Marin County. Well, we have to answer a few phone calls. People don't grow this stuff here. Now the ban's been in place for 10 years. All right. We called up Mendocino County, negligible cost. We called San Juan, Washington. They didn't know because it just passed. Okay, but they weren't expecting any. All right. So the actual cost. Well, there are staff on board the county How much of their time is deflected in doing GMO-related complaints? Close to zero, all right? And in fact, Annie Jordan, Commissioner Skundrick, Commissioner Breidenthal, all on the, on the news yesterday and at the commissioner hearing, these costs could be zero, okay? That's their quote. Is that it? Well, with that, I'll pass the mic.